everyone. I hereby call the City of Hartsville, South Carolina regular city council meeting for Tuesday, May 14th, 2024 order. I will start things off, try to move quickly through this since we have a lot of business this evening. I would ask Councilwoman Mack if you would lead us in the invocation, and then a moment of silence for Mr. Richardson, and we'll follow that with the Pledge of Allegiance and the Civility Pledge. I invite you to stand and pray in your faith as we pray in ours.
Let us pray. Most holy and everlasting Father, thou art God and God alone. Father, we thank you for this beautiful day that we have come and assembled to be your humble servants of the city of Hartsville to do its business. Father, we thank you for this beautiful day. We thank you that we have so many citizens participate in our art and come to council. Father, help us to do things that are right and pleasing in your sight. You are a good Father, and we are the sheep of your pasture. You're the good shepherd. Lead us, guide us, as only you can. Now, Lord, we invite your presence into this meeting. Do what we need to do to go forward, grow forward for the city of Hartsville, to do all of that together. We ask you that we do what is right and good, what is just and fair, for every citizen, every service, and every city of this city of Hartsville. We thank you for our police, Father. It is National Police Week, so we want to salute them. Take care of your people in the city of Hartsville. These now are blessed with the name of our Son, Jesus Christ, we do pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to
the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We would like to now, if you would please bow with us for a moment of silence for Mr. Clayton Richardson, who was a very, very active city advocate for many, many, many years. So at this time, we'd like to bow for a moment of silence. Thank you.
I'll kick off the civility pledge. I pledge to
build
build
a stronger and more prosperous community by advocating for civil engagement, respecting others and their viewpoints, and finding solutions for the betterment of my city.
All right, thank you, everyone. Item 3, I would entertain a motion to waive the reading of and approve the minutes of the April 9, 2024 regular city council meeting.
Mr. Mayor, so moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the approval of the minutes? Edits? Hearing none, we'll take a vote. All those in favor of approving the minutes of April 9th, please indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. The minutes are approved. And that will move us right over to proclamations, of which we have several this evening. This first proclamation is in recognition of bat disease. When Jordan, Stockton, y'all join me up front, please. Whereas approximately 14,000 people around the world are living with Batten disease, and 2 to 4 in every 100,000 births is diagnosed with one of the 13 known forms of the disease, it is still relatively unknown to the public. And whereas Batten disease is a heritable disorder requiring both parents to carry the defective gene, there are significantly more known and unknown unaffected siblings who are carriers. Batten disease essentially affects all populations equally, regardless of race, ethnicity, or gender, and whereas symptoms of this fatal disease typically include vision loss leading to blindness, the inability to walk, may require surgical insertion of the G tube for nourishment, personality, and behavioral changes, frequent seizures, intellectual decline, disruption, and loss of speech, dementia, and other debilitating ailments. And whereas the Batten Disease Support Research and Advocacy Foundation and Batten families are always advocating for and connecting the unconnected, leading the way through innovative and inventive approaches to scientific advancement and improved patient care, revamping systems to accelerate the path from discovery to treatment. And whereas much remains to be done in raising public awareness of Batten disease to help promote early diagnosis, carrier testing, proper management and treatment, and support for its research. Now therefore, I, Casey Hancock, Mayor of the City of Hartsville, South Carolina, do hereby proclaim June 9th, 2024 as Batten Disease Awareness Day in the City of Hartsville in recognition of this important initiative. Thank you too for being here and leading this initiative here in the city. It's my honor to present this proclamation to you. And best of luck. Please let us know how we can help. Good to see you. Good to see you.
Say thank you. I'm gonna do a thank you.
Oh, yeah, thank you.
You wanna hold them?
Mayor Garcetti is not.
Thank you so much.
Now we have National Cities, Towns, and Villages Month. Does anyone here receive this one? Do the abbreviated reading then. Whereas the National League of Cities was founded in 1924 in Lawrence, Kansas as the American Municipal Association by state municipal leagues, seeking more coordination and national representation as cities, towns, and villages expanded. And whereas Hartsville was first incorporated in 1891 and is proudly served today by Mayor Casey Hancock, Mayor Pro Tem Bryson Caldwell, Councilman Bob Braddock, Teresa Mack, Andy Lane, Brian Meadows, and Holly Miller, and a municipal workforce of 161 dedicated public servants. Now therefore, I, Casey Hancock, Mayor of the City of Hartsville, South Carolina, hereby proclaim May 2024 as National Cities, Towns, and Villages Month in the City of Hartsville in celebration of America's local governments and the National League of Cities historic centennial anniversary. So thank you to the NLC for advocating on our behalf as a small city. Back to you. Water safety month.
Y'all let you read it first.
I'll just stand here by myself. Whereas swimming and other aquatic-related activities contribute to good physical and mental health and a better quality of life for people, and whereas water safety education plays an essential role in preventing drownings and recreational water-related injuries, and whereas it is vitally important to communicate water safety rules and programs to families and individuals of all ages, whether owners of private pools, users of public swimming facilities, or visitors to water parks. Now therefore, I, Casey Hancock, Mayor of the City of Hartsville, hereby proclaim this month, May 2024, as Water Safety Month in the City of Hartsville, and encourage all of you to enjoy the city's public-related recreational activities while observing all safety rules and practices when they open this week. Thank you for all the work you do to make Neptune Island awesome. We
They're
appreciate
working
it.
very busy. They're all busy this week. So I'm here on behalf of Neptune Island accepting it. We open this weekend, so we hope to see all y'all there. And we go to 7 days early this year on May 26th.
Oh, cool. All right.
Thank
You gotta take this with you for your office.
I have it in my office.
Mental Health Awareness Month. I don't think anyone's here for this one, right? This was important to me, though. I'll do the abbreviated version. Whereas mental health is an essential part of overall health and well-being, impacting individuals, families, and communities, whereas all Americans experience times of difficulty and stress in their lives, while 1 in 5 American adults experiences a mental health condition each year. And whereas together we can create a community where everyone feels empowered to prioritize their mental well-being and seek help when needed. Now therefore, I, Casey Hancock, Mayor of the City of Hartsville, do hereby proclaim this month also Mental Health Awareness Month, and call upon the citizens, government agencies, institutions, businesses, schools in the city to recommit our community to increasing awareness and understanding of mental health, the steps our citizens can take to protect their own mental health, and the need to appropriate and accessible services for all people with mental health problems. I've never had one. Building safety. Safety Month, whereas the city of Hartsville is committed to recognizing that our growth and strength depends on the safety and essential role our homes, buildings, and infrastructure play, both in everyday life and when disasters strike. And whereas our confidence in the resilience of these buildings that make up our community is achieved through the devotion of diligent guardians, building safety and fire preservation officials, architects, engineers, builders, tradespeople, design professionals, laborers, plumbers, and others in the construction industry who work year-round to ensure the safe construction of buildings. And whereas Building Safety Month is sponsored by the International Code Council to remind the public about the critical role of our community's largely unknown protectors of public safety, our local code officials, who assure us of safe, sustainable, and affordable buildings that are essential to our prosperity. And whereas each year in the observance of Building Safety Month, people all over the world are asked to consider the commitment to improve building safety, resilience, and economic investment at home and in the community, and to acknowledge the essential service provided to all of us by local and state building departments, fire prevention bureaus, federal agencies, in protecting lives and property. Now therefore, I, Casey Hancock, Mayor of Hartsville, do hereby proclaim May 2024 as Building Safety Month. And let this serve as a nice reminder of how much we appreciate you guys and the work that you do that often is thankless at best and sometimes unwelcome, but nonetheless important. So thank you guys for everything. Keep up the good work. Thanks again. Public Works. Whereas public works services provided in our city are an integral part of our citizens' everyday lives, and whereas public works professionals focus on improving and protecting our water supply, solid waste systems, and wastewater treatment infrastructure and facilities to provide the most effective and efficient operation of these fundamental services. And whereas these services are vital to public health, quality of life, and well-being of the people of Hartsville, and could not be provided without the dedicated efforts of public works professionals. And where it is in the public interest for the citizens, civic leaders, and children in Hartsville to have more knowledge and better understanding of the importance of public works systems in our community. And whereas this year marks the 64th annual National Public Works Week, sponsored by the American Public Works Association. Now therefore, I, Casey, Mayor of the City of Hartsville, the state of South Carolina, do hereby proclaim next week, the 19th to the 26th, as Public Works Week, and appreciate the citizens of Hartsville to show their support and appreciation by thanking our public works professionals for all they do to our citizens. I'll go first. Thank you so much for taking care of us and our public works systems. It's the sort of thing you don't know how important it is until it fails, as you all will know. So again, it's this whole then keep up the good work. We appreciate. Oh, but we need a photo op right ahead. So. Please. What's in Lucy? What's in Lucy?
There's a lot.
Good job.
They're not coming.
Everybody.
Come on.
What in the hall? Was anybody out in the hall, Chief?
Thank you all for being here. Whereas the members of the law enforcement agencies for the city of Hartsville play an essential role in safeguarding the rights and freedom of the citizens of our community. And whereas since the first recorded officer's death in 1786, currently there are 24,000 law enforcement officers in the United States who have made the ultimate sacrifice and been killed in the line of duty, including Patrol Officer Ulysses Buck Dobson Sr. of the Hartsville Police Department. And whereas the names of these dedicated public servants are engraved on the walls of the National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial in Washington, D.C., with 282 names of fallen heroes added to the National Memorial this spring, including 118 officers killed in 2023 and 164 officers killed in previous years. And whereas it is important that all citizens know and understand the duties, responsibilities, hazards, and sacrifices of their law enforcement officers, and that law enforcement officers recognize their duty to serve the people of this community by protecting them against violence and disorder. And whereas the law enforcement officers of the city of Hartsville unceasingly provide a vital public service, Now therefore, I, Casey Hancock, Mayor of the City of Hartsville, in the state of South Carolina, do hereby proclaim May 10th through 16th as National Police Week and May 15th, 2024 as Peace Officers Memorial Day. And as the Mayor of the City of Hartsville, pursuant to the legislation signed into law by President John F. Kennedy in 1962, all flags are to be flown at half-staff in all city government buildings on May 15th. I also call upon the citizens, agencies, public and private institutions, businesses, and schools in the city to honor the service and sacrifice of those local, state, and federal peace officers that made the ultimate sacrifice while protecting our communities and safeguarding our democracy, and to show continual support for those peace officers who currently serve in the front lines of the battle against crime with courage and dedication. All that, we appreciate you. Thank you very much. It's my pleasure to present the proclamation. If you would accept it on behalf of the department.
Scotch. You got scotch.
Thanks again, God. All right, now it has come time for the public comment period. We have two guests signed up to speak. Because of the length of the agenda, I am going to, instead of 2 minutes, I'll do 3 minutes, but I'm going to use a timer and stick to it. Just to keep the agenda rolling, so please be prepared to keep your comments brief. Our first guest, Ms. Serrano, if you would mind, come forward. Please state your name and address for the record. And keep your comments to 3 minutes or less.
Well, I don't even need to get started. Caldwell know about me. We just buried my sister.
State your name and address, please.
Oh, I gotta
Yeah.
tell you that first, okay?
Yeah, I'll start the timer after
Barbara
that.
Serrano.
Mhm.
I am representing 222 Wilk Circle, Hartsville, South Carolina. My sister Mildred Burno, who's recently passed, that's her address.
Mhm.
And I've always, when I come here, I'm always representing issues for her and her street and this type of thing. And as I said, Mr. Caldwell saw me at the funeral and he said, I know I'm gonna see you again. Yes, you are. Just because she's dead and buried doesn't mean I'm not gonna still be here. The house was left to me, so I still got a voice in this city. But what I'm concerned about now is again, the street. You haven't done anything about it. The water is pulled up there right now. We talked about it before. Nothing, nothing has been done. We also talked about the property infringement, where y'all dug up in her yard. You never answered me on that. I haven't heard from you nor from Doc, neither one. The other issue I wrote was,
Cemetery?
we came for Mother's Day, you know, to visit the graves. And in visiting the graves, we saw the Black History Cemetery. Horrible. So I'm saying, okay, y'all take credit for these historic markers, but you don't maintain them. That graveyard look horrible. And I've mentioned to y'all before about the St. Joseph Correction. I'm an 8th grade graduate. I know it went further than 7th grade. Pete knew it did too. So it don't take but a little bit, Brian already said, to correct that. That hasn't been corrected. We've talked about that for I don't know how long. And I also mentioned to city manager, I'm still advocating for the proper type of public recognition. Ms. Burno, she carried this city, this county, all of it on her back, all of her life. The last time I kind of, now that she's gone, I'm a little, whatever. But now that she's gone, I remember talking to her about trying to get public recognition. And she told me, don't worry about it. My reward is in heaven. And that could have been a premonition that she knew her time was close. So I'm still advocating for public recognition for her. I asked about a street to be named. I mentioned it to him. He sent back to me that no street gonna be named. So I'm not gonna stop. I'm still pushing. She carried this whole town, county, all of it on her back all her life. And anybody that know her know the work that she's done around this town and how long I've been trying to get somebody to do something about it. She's known as an angel around here. We've been trying to get that pushed and get her angel advocacy going. They told me I had 3 minutes at the funeral, now you giving me 2, but I guess I just have to be quiet. I will type up this stuff and send it to y'all because there's still some more issues that really need to be spoken about and y'all need to follow up on.
Okay.
And the last thing I'm gonna say, I got my shirt on representing the black women ahead of me who've been doing good for this world and this country. And I hope y'all would do the same for the black neighborhood. It looks terrible.
Thank you for your time. We appreciate it.
Thank you, ma'am.
Mr. Manager, I know you called DOT on her behalf. If you'd like me to call him this week, please give me a
Sure,
reminder.
we'll follow
tomorrow.
back up with them, and especially with any of the property infringement on their work. That's a legal matter that DOT has to address. Again, the city,
Please, y'all talk closer into the mic. I
Oh.
apologize. I'm hard of hearing. They done told me to get a hearing aid. And I haven't.
Stop being hard-headed.
so to follow up, we reached out to DOT once again, and because of the property issues going on with infringement, that's a legal issue that DOT has to respond to. It's, the city can advocate, and we certainly will continue to advocate on that behalf. Marion Cemetery, is that on Marion Avenue? Is that the cemetery you're referring to? On 8th Street on the cemetery? Yes. There is a active group, and the city does pay for the maintenance of that, but we did have a big rainstorm that did take up some weeds that came up. There should be another cleanup coming up soon. That actually is the target of some state appropriated funds that we are looking at fully enclosing that and protecting it and actually bringing it into the city in the perpetual care fund. So that cemetery is going through the legal process right now because it is an abandoned cemetery. It's abandoned land that the city has to go through and get the deed on. So we're working with that actually with Senator Jerry Malloy to get that taken care of. So we hope to have something. The bids are actually going out this week to do contracted work on the site. That in addition to Green Lawn Cemetery are going to be beautified and with those funds, $500,000 from the state working with us with together on that one. St. John's, my understanding is that the Museum Commission has not issued the approval and the city will pay for the refoundering of that sign. So we will correct that signage as soon as it's done. I haven't heard back from Brian Gandy about it, but I'll definitely reach out to him about that. And the naming of a street is only city council in that. So I have no power to name a street and that has to be taken up. So I would request, if you could, just a formal request for that. And that can come before the city council if they so choose to pick it up. Okay?
Thank you. All right, we have one more guest, Mr. Wright.
Let me say one thing before
Yeah.
we go on. Ms. Burnell, I want you to know that we did do an observance, a moment of silence for Ms. Burnell at our last meeting.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Wright. As I always say, please, when you get to the microphone, please state your name and address for the record and keep your comments to 3 minutes or less tonight. Yeah, could you speak into the microphone, please?
Good evening. Down right there.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm here about, like you said, a health issue. On this creek I live in Hartsville, it's Logan Avenue. And we have a health problem with dogs.
Okay.
I'm talking real bad. I mean, and these animals are young dogs, and most of them is pits. Nobody can really got no control over them. Eventually, they're gonna bite somebody, or they're going to kill, or somebody gonna kill them. Neither one of them is good. So I'm here to ask you, somebody to look into that. Ms. Mack has done as much as she can do. So we need heavy hitters to get that done. Cause like our fire department, they put out fires. Police department run people. We need somebody to run the dogs. So hopefully y'all will take this in consideration
Absolutely.
and try to deal with it.
Thank you. Thank you for bringing it to our
Appreciate
attention. So we'll certainly follow up with animal control and maybe can ask the Humane Society for help too.
Sure. So we're
situation.
fully, the animal he's speaking of, we're fully aware of, and police and fire are both working towards it. We have been plagued by roaming dogs across the city for the last few months. We've actually had 10 pets killed across the city, cats. and we have actually caught 3 dogs and mitigated 4 other dogs, some issues. And we're gonna go with the word mitigate. We have mitigated this problem. And so the issue that we're running into is that we need people to have their dogs on leashes. Please have your dog contained within your yard. The fear I have is that a dog that gets out that is someone's pet and that is not causing a nuisance will be caught up in this. Because we are actively searching for these dogs. That dog in particular on Logan Avenue, I know exactly what it looks like and what I'm looking forward to. So we already caught its partner. So we are looking for it. But please, if you see anything, call us. If you see a dog that looks at a place that could just be lost, call us. Especially with July 4th coming up, dogs get out. But no, we are taking this very serious. It is a problem that we have not seen before in this city.
May I speak? Mr. Wright, I went over on Logan Avenue where Mr. Wright lives, and there was a police officer there who had been called by a lady that saw a dog with a dead dog in his mouth. And I asked the police officer if he could turn on his body camera. He said he didn't know if he could do that or not. So I took pictures of the dog, and
Okay.
that's been several months ago.
Sure.
These dogs, their owners, apparently, it's evident that they don't care. So if you're gonna have a dog, you're gonna have to care. If you don't, then you have to pay the price for not caring.
Yes.
After a dog gets so many calls, somebody needs to be ticketed.
Yep.
We have to work on a way to stop letting dogs, whatever it is, that's the nuisance, continue to exist without there being some type of penalty, because if there's no penalty, then nothing happens and people, they don't do anything and nothing gets corrected. So I would like to see, if there is not a fine structure,
There
then
is,
I would.
yeah.
Okay, well,
So
how
we're-
many times does a dog get a call?
So several times for these dogs. And first, actually, what's happening is that we are typically getting videographic evidence of what's going on with these dogs, and we're able to identify them. The main issue that we're running into is that ownership is hard to prove, especially if the dog is just kind of a vagrant type dog walking around and then checking in with different people, and people are denying ownership of them. Now we are looking at different ways to, if we can prove ownership, we will absolutely go after them in a legal manner. But right now, the main issue that we're trying to do is get these dogs off the streets.
Okay.
So those dogs are taken up, and then those people are losing custody of those dogs.
We want to be careful since this isn't on the agenda, want to do too much discussion.
All right.
I think it'd be better if we followed up outside of the
All
context of the meeting. But I can't argue with you at all, not
Yeah.
arguing against you. That's it for public comment, though, but that brings us, Mr. Manager, right into your update. You wanted to speak about the meeting?
Sure, I just have one quick item for you guys since we have a lengthy agenda. Again, please speak to the Madam Clerk if you guys are wanting to attend the annual meeting. The agenda came out. There are several items on here that are beneficial, I believe, for councils and mayors to attend. Again, it's a 3-day meeting rather. Councils from across the state will be there and join with us, and then we do plan on sending a good show to show that Hartsville is here as well. July 18th through the 20th is what we're looking at.
Looks like some good stuff on the agenda this year.
And that's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
All right, thank you. Consent agenda is received as information only. Thank you, as always, to our departments for preparing that information for us. And that brings us right into new business. Item number 6, first reading of ordinance 4469. Mr. Manager, if you would publish the ordinance by title and presentation.
Yes, sir. It's first ordinance of read of 4469, an ordinance to amend the City of Hartsville Code by addition of Chapter 58, Article 1, in general, Section 56-6, hate intimidation. And to present it, so the city this was a effort by the Municipal Association. South Carolina and Wyoming are the only two states in the country that do not have any hate legislation on the record as far as the state is concerned. So the cities were encouraged to take up the mantle of passing a hate intimidation. And what this simply does is it defines it in the ordinance and does provide a fee structure should that come up as far as the law. Currently, Bluffton, Charleston, Chester, Clemson, Greenville, Florence, and Mount Pleasant are the cities that have adopted it already. We'd like to join them with that, and that's our recommendation.
Thank you. I would entertain a motion to approve the first reading of ordinance 4469.
Mr. Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? All right, hearing none, we'll take a vote. All those in favor of approving the first reading of ordinance 4469, please indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. First reading has passed. Moving right on to item number 7, ordinance 4470. Mr. Manager, if you would.
Yes, sir. To amend the residential solid waste users fee pursuant to Chapter 70, Solid Waste Article 1 in General Section 70-2, Residential Solid Waste Users Fee. And to present, what we are requesting City Council to do is to increase our residential monthly fee by $2. As explained in the budget process, we are seeing increased costs for equipment, we're seeing increased costs for personnel. And because we are not adding the number of houses we'd like to see coming up, we have to increase our revenues in order to meet our bottom line. This also provides a small contingency for the department in case something goes wrong. But we are proposing again a $2 increase this year. It will go to a $1 the next year and then $1 the next year. You have in front of you a list of what other cities and private haulers are giving in the area. Just to name a few without actually naming the companies, because I don't want to say that just in case anyone's listening from them. 3 private haulers in the area. This will bring us to 2619. The 3 local haulers in the area are at $42.78. $40 flat and $28.60, and all 3 of those only provide trash services. With the $26.19, we provide weekly trash pickup, weekly yard waste bagged or in a roll cart, as well as bi-weekly recycling and bulk pickup of yard debris and objects. So we are offering quite a bit for a fraction of the cost of what the private haulers are doing. You also see some other government entities that are doing it, but again, we offer 4 times the service level of those things for that price. Sanitation has always been a narrow margin for us. We're not in this to make money. We're here to provide an excellent service, and this continues to allow us to provide that excellent level of service that we continue to do.
Great, thank you. Before we have any questions, I would entertain a motion to approve the first reading of ordinance 4470.
Mr. Mayor, I so move that we approve ordinance 4470.
A second. Ms. Mack, have a second. All right, any questions or discussion on this ordinance?
Mr. City Manager, if you would, could you please state the services that the city of Hartsville provide for the 2619 again, please?
Sure, absolutely. So we provide weekly trash pickup, weekly yard waste that's bagged or in the roll cart, and then we provide bi-weekly recycling and bi-weekly bulk pickup of our yard debris and bulk items. So those are on alternating schedule with recycling. So we are offering 4 services for residential.
And one of those services is new as of last year.
The bulk pickup for
yeah.
White goods such as
Yeah.
couches and whatnot, that is new. We can tag that into
It used to cost, now it's
It used to
free.
cost a fee
Yeah.
separate, and so when we negotiated the yard waste change,
Mhm.
and if you go back in our history, we've actually increased our residential dollar rate by $1 every year. We took a year off last time because we were making a change to yard waste, but the revenues and what's going on with costs this year, trucks alone have increased dramatically in what we're seeing for these new trucks. So actually $72,000 increase for our sanitation is actually just a debt service payment for the new trucks, which council agreed to buy the years past. So we are just seeing increased costs for fuel and across the board.
Right, I think it's an important point. Like you said, our prices are more than competitive when compared to our commercial peers. But part of that reason is because we don't make a profit, whereas they need to. That's how the nature of their business. But since we just need to cover our costs, we're able to do it more economically.
Yes.
Any other questions, comments?
And I just want to make a remark that this will hopefully help clean up the historic Butler District, Ms. Bernal. Ms. Bernal,
Serrano.
the trash pickup and the yard waste is going to hopefully help to clean up the historic Butler District, where you may see, some areas that don't look so good. This is going to help that.
Thank you. Anything else? All right. All right. Well, if there are no other questions or comments, we'll take a vote. All those in favor of approving the first reading of ordinance 4470, please indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. First reading ordinance 4470 is approved. Moving on to item 8, the first reading of ordinance 4471. Mr. Manager, if you would.
Yes, sir. It's ordinance 4471 to provide for the establishment and amendment of fees and rates that are necessary for the operation of the city of Hartsville. And this is an annual review of our master rate or fee schedule. We update several things throughout the year. And of course, if you have any questions, please let us know.
And again, it is an update to the existing schedule. It reads as if we're establishing it for the first time, but it's really just year-over-year changes.
We have to do it every year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would entertain a motion to approve the first reading of ordinance 4471.
Mr. Mayor, ordinance 4471 is so moved.
A second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Questions about this one? All right. Hearing none, take a vote. All those in favor of approving the first reading of ordinance 4471, please indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
You opposed? The ayes have it. First reading of ordinance 4471 is approved. Moving on to item 9, ordinance 4472. Mr. Manager, if you would.
All right. This is an ordinance to adopt a budget for the city of Hartsville, South Carolina for fiscal year beginning July 1, 2024 and ending June 30, 2025.
All right.
And this is our budget.
Yeah, okay. This is our budget. I would entertain a motion to approve the first reading of ordinance 4472.
I so move that we approve ordinance 4472.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. I got a motion and a second. Second on my right. Any discussion, any questions about 4472 or the budget?
I'd like to take a second to commend staff on a job well done.
Oh, thank you. Very good point. I have a question. It really touches on this in the departmental reports. If my math was correct, our business license income for the month of April versus last year is up 15%. Are we collecting them differently? Is there more activity?
So I would truly to our excellent staff going after the business license, make sure the process is smooth for everybody. We have a new business license coordinator who started past few years. And so really, it's just getting the people engaged and making sure people understand the process. So I really do attribute it to our staff.
When I got, just personally, I'll say a number of phone call reminders.
She's
as
tenacious.
As the due
we'll put it
date
that way.
approached. So maybe that has something to do with the renewals coming in.
We want to make sure that you have all the questions answered. Of course, if you're doing business in the city, it is a privilege tax, but it is you do have to assume that you're making a little bit more money in the city limits because you have all the services provided by the city. And so the business license is designed for that, and that's a large portion of how the cities in South Carolina at least make money.
Okay, more back to the budget in general. Is there any other questions or comments pertaining to the ordinance? Okay, well, hearing none, we'll take a vote. All those in favor of approving the first reading of ordinance 4472, please indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. First reading of ordinance 4472 has been approved. Moving on to 4473, item number 10, Mr. Manager, if you would.
Yes, sir. Ordinance 4473, amending the 2023-2024 fiscal year budgets. And again, this is amending this current year fiscal year budgets. We did have some increased costs that we saw throughout the year. This is truing up that budget so that we can still have a balanced budget as required by state law. A lot of these are projects that you guys approved throughout the year, such as emergency repairs, and now we're just truing up the budget as part of it. There also were increased costs, as we noted, with some of the salary positions having to pay for overtime, things like that, that were not anticipated in the budget process. But you have in front of you all the list of those, and we were able to find some increased revenues as we went through the year. So it's not all just increased costs coming out of fund balance. It actually does have some revenues tied back to it.
And that was an important point for me when I talked to Daniel last week, that this isn't new money. It's just truing up the budget to reflect what we have already approved earlier in the year.
Yes,
Yeah.
as you're doing tonight, state law requires us to pass a balanced budget, especially for our general fund. And so what this is doing is ensuring that we maintain that balanced budget.
Gotcha. I should have heard a motion. I would entertain a motion to approve the first reading of ordinance 4473.
Mr. Mayor, I so move that we approve ordinance 4473.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Now, are there any questions or comments on 4473 since I've already blurted out mine? Anything else? All right. All those in favor of approving the first reading of ordinance 4473, please indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Ordinance 4473 is approved. Moving on to 4474. Mr. Manager, if you would.
Yes, sir. It's ordinance 4474, an ordinance to reaffirm participation in the state insurance benefits program for council member coverage and to amend Hartsville Code Chapter 2 Administration, Article 2, Council, Division 1, generally, Section 2-40B, compensation of council members. And to present this, so the PEBA, who's the Public Employee Benefit Authority, let us know this past week that city councils, they're making a change to how city council members can receive insurance after they serve for a period of time, in fact, after they retire. That's being updated, and they're requiring all cities by July 1 to reaffirm that council members do choose to participate as an employee under the state insurance program. Tonight, we are proposing a first read to amend our current ordinance to true up the language within that, so it's in line with that. Currently, you guys do allow council members to participate in insurance. Strongly encourage you to continue, because if you choose to not do it, then, and that's for next month, we're going to do the resolution on that, correct? The resolution to approve the change, or is this going to take care of it tonight? Oh, take care, okay. If you don't choose to do it tonight, then it does disallow you guys from doing it forever. All council members who are taking insurance will forfeit that, and they cannot make the change until PEBA makes another change, because they're the only ones who can initiate a change. So you guys have participated in it. It did change the parameters, so you have that in front of you, what the new requirements are under Tier 3, as many employees are. But that's what's happening right now. We have to move on this pretty quickly because they gave us a 2-month deadline.
And well, about to break my own rule. Thank you for that. If I would entertain a motion to approve the first reading of ordinance 4474.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. I wanted to comment, I misunderstood, but this is, the text says reaffirming the option. If we wanted to pursue an alternative insurance provider, we can, but this gives us the option to keep the insurance we have while we look for new insurance. So it's, in my mind, it was important that we reaffirm this option.
So this is, we participate in PEBA, so
Yeah.
as a city, so we share our insurance with several other cities and entities across the
Yeah.
state. This allows you, this is a PEBA rule. This is not if we were to go out for private insurance, which I highly recommend we do not.
Yeah.
Because of just the cost associated
Right.
with it. This allows us under PEBA's rule for you guys to participate as employees, and they put that in quotes. But you'll be able to, you have to meet the same requirements as generally what employees do, but a few more caveats, and that's listed under the PEBA definition, which is provided to you. It really just, what this is doing tonight is allowing you to continue to participate as an employee would, should you choose. You do not have to participate as a
Right.
member. You might get insurance through your spouse or through some other entity or other way. But this allows you to have that option.
Good. Thank you. All right. Thank you for the clarification. Any other questions or comment on 4474?
Yes, I wanted to speak to that.
Uh-huh.
So I just turned 65. So I now officially have Medicare
Yep.
as my insurance provider. Now, I don't currently carry PEBA's insurance.
Sure.
Because it would make PEBA become my
Right.
first insurance, and then my Medicare comes second.
Right.
Would that take my cost way up?
Sure.
So, because if I don't choose it now, would I not be able to choose it later?
No, you would be able, and so we did take a look at certain council members, I won't say who, depending on where you fall on the certain age spectrum. And there is a specific case for most of you. In fact, not to call you out, Bob, but you're the only one on council who's in Tier 2 as a retirement employee currently. I'm a Tier 3 employee because I started 6 months too late in government. I'm very upset about that, but it's okay. So your specific issue, you can come on PEBA at any time if you want to. It does not affect you. This is a decision for the city of Hartsville council members in perpetuity until, again, PEBA makes the change. So you do not have to worry about not choosing it now or not having an option later. You always have an option should you guys choose to vote for this tonight, which again, I recommend you do.
Any other questions or comments?
And I would vote for it because previously you had to serve 3 terms
Yes.
to be eligible to.
maintain it afterwards.
Right.
Now it's going up. There's certain requirements. Now 65 is the cap for retirement. You have to have 8 years vested. That's the same for all Tier 3 employees, 8 years vested in the system. But if you retire as a council member, you may not stay the entire time with the city or in the state government. They upped it from 12 years now to 20 years. So you have to serve 5 terms. in order to be eligible if you retire from insurance before you reach age 65. Now, that's a great question for our gurus in HR, not me.
Yeah.
But that's generally what they're doing. They have increased it from 12 years, which is 3 terms, to 5 terms, depending on if you're at 4-year terms. And you have to reach that eligible age, and Medicare does come in as a factor. But this provides, if you have a council member who doesn't have insurance through the state, comes on to the city council and wants to get affordable insurance that is, I think, pretty good for what we offer, and it's what we offer all our employees. It's a good thing to offer as a council member because there's not a lot of other, I mean, there's a great benefit to be on council, of
Yes.
course.
Yeah.
You know, but if you're doing this for money, you're not doing the right job, so. Sure.
Okay, your house first, you carry the people insurance,
Mhm.
and you lose the next election, can you carry that insurance with you?
If you reach
That's what the
5 terms.
For 20 years.
So,
Yeah.
You gotta win.
in all honesty, the only person this really affects is Bob at this point.
Yeah.
But the rest of you guys, if you continue to serve, so don't lose. That's just my advice to you. No.
All right, any other questions of the ordinance? Questions or comments? All right. Hearing none, we'll take a vote. All those in favor of approving the first reading of ordinance 4474, please indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Ordinance 4474 is approved. Moving on to our first resolution, 05-2101-2401. Mr. Manager, if you would publish the resolution by
Yes,
title and
sir.
presentation.
All right. This is for authorization for the city of Hartsville to provide a letter of support for infrastructure improvements for potential workforce housing project. Yes, and as for presentation, this was brought to you guys' attention in the last council meeting, but we had a chance to look at it. Had a presentation from KCG, who is the project that is looking at doing this. And so if we're bringing back up the same resolution as last time, if you have any questions, please let me know.
Before we have any questions, I would motion to approve resolution 05-2401.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we approve 05-2401.
Thank you.
second.
I
Second.
have a motion and a second. Any discussion on this?
Yes. Mr. Mayor, just for the general public, can we state what we did when KCG came? Mr. Manager, would you do that, please? Can you give,
So what this is providing is, this is a resolution for support for a tax credit program that is looking at housing over on East Washington Street. They're currently looking at 2 properties that are across from the new Humane Society that's coming in, and also a property that goes up to Swift Creek. I believe it's 170 units, 80 units the first time and 90 units the second time for phase 2. So this is for 80 units. This is for workforce housing. It is not under the Housing Authority, but this is providing affordable housing for people who meet criteria. They have to have a job. They have to have a certain income threshold. And so if we're looking at from our perspective, it is potential for influx of new residents coming to the city of Hartsville, providing workforce housing for what we desperately need is workforce development. And as we look at it, is a good pocket to put in that area to help create more density in that area, which can help us achieve more economic goals down the line, is what we're looking for. And so we again recommend that we go forward with it. It's a fairly small investment for the city. Right now, it's $97,000 in infrastructure costs that will only be spent if the project is successful through the tax credit program. When you look at infrastructure improvements, that is kind of a drop in the bucket, and it's monies that we potentially would have to spend should a housing project come along anyway. And so we thought it was fairly, staff at least felt it was fairly easy for us to at least go for a letter of support. And then should something come up down the line, we can certainly talk about it. We brought back to council if anything changes.
yes, it's a very stout opportunity, and if we do not move on it this time, then it could be 4 to 5 years before we get another opportunity to do so.
Yeah, and that's exactly the timeframe we're seeing when we have these type of projects come up. Every year, we have tax credit programs that come up and actually request. So a lot of city-owned property is targeted at first, but this is the first kind of privately owned property that we're seeing that's getting some traction. And so when that happens, you do have it kind of shift around and it changes parameters, and the program changes every single year. more stuff is added on. And it's important to note that when you have a group that you're working with that can help you navigate those processes, it's important to try and grab onto when you can, like any type of grant program.
Thank you, sir.
Any other questions or comments? I just want to say thanks to Jen for your presentation at our last meeting. Really impressive presentation. We're going to hold you to it too. We're going to hold you to the bar you set for yourself, should you be awarded. That said, all those in favor of approving Resolution 05-2401, unless there's another question, but I think that's it. All those in favor, please indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No. One no. Well, the ayes have it. Resolution 05-2401 is approved. Moving on to item 13, Resolution 05-2402. Mr. Manager?
Yes, sir. It is Resolution 05-2402, designation of an auditing firm for fiscal years July 1, 2023, June 30, 2024, and for 3 subsequent fiscal years. And to present, it is recommended that cities go out for bid on your auditing services, just to make sure that we are maintaining absolute transparency with these things on. An auditing firm is the kind of the barometer it shows, and those are published documents that show how our finances are doing. And so we put this out for bid. We do still recommend we had 2 bid comes through, and we are recommending that we go with who we currently are with Sheehan, Hancock, and Godwin. And we feel that they can still perform the services that we need them to.
Okay. I would entertain a motion to approve Resolution 05-2402.
It is so moved.
Thank you. Do I have a second? Second. I have a motion and a second. I want to clarify there is no relation to whoever the Hancock is in this company. I always want to make that very, very clear. Any other questions or comments on this resolution?
Shaheen's gonna hit Daniel across the head.
Oops, sorry.
Well, hearing no questions from the council, we'll take a vote. All those in favor of approving Resolution 05-2402, please indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Resolution is approved. And that brings us to the end of our business. I would now entertain a motion to enter executive session pursuant to SC Code FOIA Section 34-70A1 for discussion of matters related to the city judge's contract.
Mr. Mayor, it is so moved.
Do I have a motion? Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor of entering executive session, please indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. We now stand in executive session. Thank you, everyone, for being here. We appreciate you coming.